From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. First, the headlines. UAE shoots down ballistic missile fired by Houthis during Israeli president's visit. India bought Pegasus as part of defense deal with Israel in 2017. French region cancels its subsidy to art festival over mural of woman wearing hijab. Canada to appoint special representative on combating Islamophobia. Bangladeshi scientists claim breakthrough in rice research. Sundance Prize goes to Midwives, a film about a Buddhist midwife and her Muslim apprentice. And our top story tonight. The United Arab Emirates intercepted and destroyed a ballistic missile fired by Yemen's Houthi rebels early this morning, during the Israeli president's official visit to the country. No damage was caused by the attack, the UAE's defense ministry said in a statement on Twitter. It added that debris fell in an unpopulated area and there were no casualties. The attack came on the same night Israeli President Isaac Herzog met with Abu Dhabi's Crown Prince Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Herzog will not interrupt his visit, presidential spokesperson Aylon Levy told Anadolu agency. Yemen has been engulfed by violence and instability since 2014, when Iran-aligned Houthi rebels captured much of the country. A Saudi-led coalition aimed at reinstating the Yemeni government has worsened the situation, including a crippling blockade that has caused the death of hundreds of thousands. The Indian government bought Israeli spyware Pegasus in 2017 as part of a $2 billion package for weapons, including a missile system, the New York Times reports. The year-long investigation revealed that the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation also had bought and tested the spyware for years, with plans to use it for domestic surveillance. That's until the agency decided last year not to deploy the spyware. The report details how Pegasus was used by Mexico to target journalists and dissidents, and how Saudi Arabia used it against women's rights activists and associates of columnist Jamal Khashoggi, who was killed by Saudi operatives. Under a set of new deals licensed by the Israeli Ministry of Defense, Pegasus was provided to Poland, Hungary, India, and other countries, the report said. A worldwide coalition of media groups first revealed in July 2021 that Pegasus had been used by several governments to spy on opponents, journalists, activists, and others. The French region of Auvergne-Rhône suspended subsidiaries for a street art festival in Grenoble because of a mural of a woman wearing a hijab. Regional authorities said in a statement that the mural was provocative and unacceptable. They argued it only benefits extremists, fueling violence and hatred. They said subsidies planned for the street art festival in Grenoble was cancelled. Media experts said that the mural was drawn 8 months ago and a decision was made to cancel the subsidies, although the mural had nothing to do with the festival. The event's director, Jerome Cutts, said the reason for the cancellation of over $11,000 in financial support for the festival is political. Protesters marched towards the presidential palace in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, on Sunday to demand full civilian rule in the country. Thousands gathered chanting slogans against the military and calling for accountability for demonstrators killed by security forces. 79 people have been killed in protests against the military takeover in Sudan, according to local medics. The northeastern African nation has been in turmoil since October 25th last year. That is when the military dismissed Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok's transitional government and declared a state of emergency. Sudan was previously governed by a sovereign council of military and civilian officials tasked with overseeing the transition period until elections in 2023. Former U.S. President Donald Trump said that he would pardon some of those charged for their part in the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol last year. if he's re-elected in 2024. Trump made his remarks at a rally on Saturday night in Conroe, Texas. "If I run and if I win, we will treat those people from January 6 fairly," he said. Hundreds of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol on January 6 last year in an effort to block the certification of President Joe Biden's November 2020 election victory. More than 700 people have been arrested as part of the investigation into the riot that left 5 people dead. In related news, Senator Lindsey Graham said on Sunday it was inappropriate for Trump to float pardons for the rioters. During an appearance on CBS's Face the Nation, the South Carolina Republican and Trump ally diverged from the former president about his Saturday's comments. Trump has yet to announce whether he will pursue a 2024 White House bid. Canada on Saturday announced its intention to appoint a special representative who will work to combat Islamophobia as part of a broader anti-racism strategy. The announcement came on the eve of the 5-year anniversary of the deadly mosque shooting in Quebec City. The statement supported Muslim communities across Canada. It reaffirmed the country's commitment to take action to denounce and tackle Islamophobia and hate-fueled violence. It noted building a more inclusive country and combating discrimination is a must. Sharing the statement on social media, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau pointed out the need to end Islamophobia in the country. Last year, Canada declared January 29th a National Day of Remembrance for the 6 people killed and 19 wounded in the 2017 Quebec City mosque shooting rampage. Bangladeshi scientists are claiming a breakthrough after developing a special rice variety that is resistant to floods and salinity. The milestone has the potential to improve food security in the region. Speaking to Anadolu agency, Mirza Mufazzal Islam, who led the team of scientists, said that the new rice variety will come to the rescue of Bangladesh and other Asian countries. Through a genome sequence, scientists have discovered 3 new types of rice varieties that are different from the mother type, the chief scientist said. New rice seeds produced from this genome sequencing will be several times more tolerant to water submergence and salinity. The research for the breakthrough began in 2015 as a joint project between the Bangladesh Atomic Agriculture Research Institute and Bangladesh Agricultural University. Bringing more news after the break. Stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Despite the development of a COVID-19 vaccine, millions around the world will not have access. We need a vaccine that's free and available to everyone, everywhere. It's time for a people's vaccine.
I am what hunger looks like in America. I am an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for the last day of school. Because this may be the last time I'll have lunch. Till September.
I am a single father of 2 who works 3 part-time jobs, and that's still not enough to put food on the table.
I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. Somalia's public education system has been hampered by 30 years of conflict, poverty, weak governance, and climate change, affecting nearly 3 million people. That includes 1.4 million girls who require assistance to attend school. Somalia was once considered one of the leading countries in the Horn of Africa for quality education owing to a free schooling system. This ended with the collapse of the central government in the early 1990s, with children's enrollment in educational institutions plummeting. Ever since, the country has been grappling with several other challenges, including conflict, poverty, and budget cuts to the education sector. The latest UN statistics shows barely 33% of children are attending school. Sarah Abubakar, a graduate student at Montreal's McGill University, is this year's recipient of the Centre Culturel Islamique du Québec Memorial Award. Abubakar is the Quebec Public Affairs lead at the National Council of Canadian Muslims. The award honors a student at the university whose work fosters inclusion of Muslims in Quebec and Canadian society. It was established in the wake of the deadly January 29, 2017 mosque shooting, in which a white supremacist killed 6 and injured 19 at a Quebec City mosque. A 22-year-old man accused of killing a British Bangladeshi imam in East London has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Muzahid Ali, one of the 3 men charged with murdering Muhammad Aqil Mahdi, appeared at Southwark Crown Court Friday and was remanded to custody. The other defendants are Majid Ahmed and Abul Kasham. They did not appear for their plea hearings. Ahmed has been transferred to the Category A Belmarsh prison and his papers had been lost in transition, said Judge Deborah Taylor. Judge Taylor said Kasham was fit to attend court and there was no justification for not doing so. Security camera footage at Al-Noor Islamic Community Center in the Canadian city of Waterloo showed a woman on December 28th picking up some snow and drawing crosses on every window she was able to reach. After doing this twice, her messages became hate-fueled attacks on Muslims written with an oily substance that the mosque officials have not been able to clean up completely. Ahmed Abu Zid, the mosque's imam, watched this woman circle the building minutes before people began arriving for prayer at 7 a.m. He has filed a police report of the incident but said he does not want to get the woman in trouble. He attributed the hate-fueled messages to ignorance. The imam said he plans to hold an event at the center within the next month to teach the community more about Islam. The Islamic Center of Santa Clarita in California hosted a job and education workshop Saturday aimed at helping Afghan refugees who are recent arrivals in the city. Earlier this week, more than 130 refugees from Afghanistan, including men, women, and young children, were temporarily placed in Santa Clarita after a rushed evacuation. The total number of refugees is 134, including 70 children. Information included how parents could find housing and enroll their children in nearby school districts. Representatives from the Los Angeles County Office of Education were also present to explain how college-age students could begin their education. Midwives, a film about a Buddhist midwife and her Muslim apprentice, has earned one of the prestigious Sundance Film Festival major awards. On Friday, it won the Special Jury Prize for Excellence in Verite filmmaking. It featured the story of 2 midwives. La, a Buddhist and a part of a majority population in Burma. Her apprentice, Yo-Yo, is Muslim and part of the Rohingya minority that has been forced to flee the country after a brutal military genocide targeting them. The 2 characters get along but also personify the tensions between the 2 communities. Filmmaker Dawn Porter announced the award in a Twitter video on Friday, saying it is a surprising story of female self-determination in the face of militaristic oppression. Coming up next after the break is our in-depth analysis segment on Yemen. So stay tuned and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you and you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's minds, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
I am what hunger looks like in America. I am an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for the last day of school. Because this may be the last time I'll have lunch. Till September.
I am a single father of 2 who works 3 part-time jobs, and that's still not enough to put food on the table.
I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Friends, our world is pulling together like never before. We're making huge sacrifices to keep one another safe. Scientists are working non-stop to develop COVID-19 vaccines and treatments. A vaccine will get our economies moving. It will tell our loved ones we're safe again. But we have challenges we must address. Right now, huge pharmaceutical companies are keeping the vaccine research a secret. They're deciding how many vaccines get made, how much to charge for them, and who gets vaccinated. This will no doubt leave billions of people behind. Pharma companies are putting profit, not people, first. Yet, billions of dollars of taxpayers' money is funding their work. We cannot let the CEOs of a handful of pharmaceutical companies decide our future. We need a vaccine that everyone can have free of charge, no matter where you live or whether you're rich or you're poor. We need companies to share all their research so we can make enough safe vaccines for everyone. We need a vaccine owned by all of us. To end this COVID-19 pandemic, we need to pull together once more.
Welcome back. Today we'll be speaking to Dr. AISHA JUMAAN, the president of Yemen Relief and Reconstruction Foundation. We'll be talking about the situation on the ground and the many ways that the U.S. is complicit in this war. Welcome, Dr. AISHA.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you very much for inviting me to talk to you today.
Alaikum assalam. So, Dr. AISHA, you're Yemeni American yourself. And I'm sure you find yourself in a very conflicted state. How is the U.S. complicit in this war?
Like you said, it's actually quite painful for a Yemeni American to see how the U.S. had supported the war in Yemen. They continue to sell arms to the Saudi-led coalition that had been bombing Yemen every day since March 2015. That's over 2,500 days of bombing. And that spanned 3 presidents, from President Obama, who supported the war, unfortunately, to Trump, and now to President Biden. We had high hopes that President Biden will end the support, because he promised that when he was running for office for the presidency. And he also said that in January of last year that he will end all support to the U.S. war, to the Saudi war on Yemen. Unfortunately, he has not done that. They continue to sell them arms. They continue to cover for them in international forums, and they continue to provide them information and intelligence. So for me as a Yemeni American, to see American made bombs and missiles rain terror on the Yemeni population is actually quite frightening as well, because a lot of these bombs fall on people I know and I love, including the extensive family members that I have in Yemen. Recently, a bomb that was made by RIOT was used to target temporary detention in Sada, killing 91 people and injuring 268. Yet we have not heard a single word from the U.S. administration condemning such an incident that is considered war crime under international law. Most of the targets of the Saudi and the UAE-led coalition on Yemen are actually civilian targets. They have targeted a lot of neighborhoods and schools, markets. In the past 30 days, there are at least 6 hospitals that had been affected by the bombing. So the U.S. is absolutely complacent, and they have the power to end their support. None of these fighter jets, the F-15 or the F-16, would be able to fly and bomb Yemen if the U.S. is not providing them with the weapons. But even the simplest thing, like tires for these jets need to replace their tires every 2 days. If the U.S. just decides to not send tires, these jets would be grounded and they would not bombing Yemen.
You spoke about Raytheon. Let's take a look at this tweet by the chairman and chief executive of Raytheon. On the left is the CEO of Raytheon saying that the escalation of the Yemen war is benefiting his company. And on the right is a shard from a Raytheon weapon that, as Dr. AISHA said, that the Saudi Arabia and UAE used to attack a civilian area in Yemen last week. Now, just the juxtaposition of this and the fact that lives are being, hundreds and thousands of people are dying in Yemen because of this war, and corporations are almost celebrating this as a way to sell more weapons. How does that make you feel?
That's I don't think there are words that describes how I feel about this. The fact that they can look at this and think it's celebrated, it's so inhuman. I actually posed a question to the president of Raytheon to ask him what would he say to the families of the individuals that had lost their lives and livelihoods because of bombs that are made by them. How would he feel if his family was subject to these terror, be brought upon them? I wonder if they ever think how these families feel. How can they even go to sleep at the end of the day, knowing that the weapons they've made have been used to kill innocent people? And this is not the first incident, will not be the last incident. We know that in August 2018, a school bus with children, many of them were between 8 and 10, was targeted, and many of the kids on the school bus were killed by that attack. Most of the attacks in Yemen are a subject of U.S. military, weapons, because the Saudis and the Emiratis, the majority, probably about 80% of the weapons they buy it from the U.S. So how could these companies think that human lives, the loss of human lives and livelihoods, is something to celebrate is beyond me. In addition to the daily bombing, as I said, for over 2,500 days, Yemen is under a very strict blockade, where Yemeni airspace, Yemeni land crossing and Yemeni ports are under the control of the Saudi-led coalition. So the major airport, which is Sana'a Airport, had been closed since 2016. Nobody can fly in and out of it except for the UN. So we have scores, tens of thousands of Yemeni who need medical evacuation. They're not able to leave Yemen and they die because of that. We also have the Hodeidah port, which is the largest port in Yemen and used to receive about 70 to 80% of what Yemen needs, is also under a blockade. And so we've seen what the UN calls the largest humanitarian crisis in the world, with over 16 million people, that's more than half the Yemeni population, at the risk of famine. The UN had said that every 10 minutes a child dies in Yemen of preventable causes. And so in addition to the war and the airstrikes, we also have this crippling blockade on the Yemeni people.
And all of this gets complicated because Americans have bases in both those countries, Saudi and the United Arab Emirates, which they want to protect. So what can Americans do who don't want to be complicit in this war?
The American public have been a great support to our cause. They've been doing a lot of work with us. We have a coalition of about 200 organizations that are advocating for ending U.S. support for the Saudi-led coalition. So one of the things they can do is use 1-800-STOP WAR, which is a line that they can use to call the representatives and request that they stop supporting the Saudi war on Yemen. They can, on their own, call their representatives and senators and the White House and tell them that the American public does not support this war. There have been a lot of surveys that indicated that over 60% of the US population is against this war and supporting this war. They can also use their social media to bring the voices of the millions of voiceless people in Yemen and tweet about it, write on Facebook, on Instagram. We need to educate people about what's going on in Yemen because unfortunately, big power and big money has silenced and purposefully is blacking out what's happening in Yemen. So we need every single voice to be brought in to pressure our government, because these people who are in office, they're in office because we voted for them. And if 7 people call a representative, constituents call a representative, he or she will have to respond to them. So if we can have at least 10 people call each representative to say, we do not want to support this war on the Yemeni people, we will see a change, inshallah. But we also need them to increase awareness among their friends, their relatives, and on social media.
The situation on the ground is very dire, as we can hear from you and your work there with your foundation. Where do we go from here? Where does Yemen go from here?
The Yemeni people are very resilient people. They've been subjected to huge injustices for the last 7 years. We're entering the 8th year now. There's been a recent call by the government in Sana'a to all Yemeni parties to come and sit down together and find a way to reach a consensus government, unity government. Jamal bin Omar, who was the UN envoy to Yemen before the Saudi-led aggression on the Yemeni people, had written extensively that the Yemeni people had reached an agreement, the Yemeni parties had reached an agreement to have a unity government. So I would call on all Yemeni parties to the conflict to sit together and decide and come up with something that will help the Yemeni people. I think they should just disregard all international interference in the Yemeni matters. And I know, given Yemen has such a long history, that the Yemeni people traditionally, with our culture and customs, can reach an agreement if they are not listening to outsiders to this conflict.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aisha JUMAAN.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me and allowing me to speak on this very important topic.
That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes or more on our YouTube and Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.